This is Stan Stevens. I'm talking with Justin Headrick, a candidate for District 1 Commissioner on the Republican primary. Justin, good to have you.
Well, thanks for having me, Stan.
Well, appreciate you running and putting your hat in the ring. Your hat's on the floor right now, but it's in the ring. Tell us a little bit about you, your family, and what's going on in your lifestyle.
Well, to start off, I was born and raised here in Dent County. I left for a few years to go to college, decided to come back, raise my family here. I just wanted to be a part of the community that instilled in me the principles, beliefs, and values that I have today, and I wanted to do that and carry it on with my kids and raise them in that atmosphere. We've been here for a long time. A lot of people around remember my grandpa D. Being involved in the hardware store, from that to working at the mines and raising beef cattle and everything else. Today I currently run my own farming operation. We do some custom hay, build fence, that sort of thing. Beyond that, I just try to stay involved, from school board to other county boards, and been on some state boards.
I want to kind of ask you a personal question. You know, you have a lot of small children. Okay, so how does that, when you start getting involved in the community, knowing that the kids are our future growing up, does that propel you into these other areas and give you more interest because you have the children?
That's exactly what gives me my driving force. I want to preserve and just help keep around what we all really are so thankful for. And that's a main driving force for me.
Probably growing up, you didn't see it that way when you were young and that age. But,
no, I didn't.
But you do now. Well, okay. So the driving force for you is your kids and into school boards and different things. Is that also what kind of drove you into this position for county commission?
That's exactly.
Or to run for it?
That's exactly what did it. I just want to. I was always raised, if you're not willing to get your hands dirty, then you don't really have a gripe about anything that goes on. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but for me, that's a personal. What do I want to say here? I have the time, I have the ability, and that's just what kind of drives me there. Well,
one of the things in the responsibility of a commissioner is vast. You know, you have to be very flexible. You've got to be ready to go 24/7. You've been to some commissioner meetings and asking a lot of questions. Was it? I mean, just in the few times you've been there and had a chance to ask questions, is it exactly what you thought it would be, or are you finding out some new wrinkles as you go along and saying, you know, I didn't really know that happened, and I need to look into that a little closer?
You know, I found that there's a lot of revealing stuff whenever you go to that meeting and you sit there and listen to everything that's going on in the county and what their job entails. And it's a lot like whenever I can remember back whenever I first got elected to school board. And you go in, you step into that meeting for the first time, and you're sworn in, and then it all just it all unveils itself and unravels before you, like, oh my, there's a lot more to this than what you really think.
You're feeling pretty good, you got elected, and all of a sudden
That's right.
What's this?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just going into it with an open mind and knowing that there are hurdles along the way. And if you have your constituents and your community betterment at the forefront of your mind, I think you'll be fine. That's the main focus right there.
Since you've gotten involved in the election, how much research have you done into the commissioner's position? Just as, you know, going to meetings is one thing, but then following up on things, checking the budgets, different things of that nature. How much time have you spent doing it? I think you've been doing quite a bit, haven't you?
There's been a lot of hours spent doing that.
School didn't stop, did it? Homework is still there.
No. There's a lot of after hours that people don't see and behind the scenes with that job that I don't think you could just imagine. So
when we talk about being a commissioner, obviously, and one of the things that you kind of got in on, I know at one of the last meetings, as Commissioner Purcell, who is the position you're running for, is part of the Tourism Tax Committee. You may not even realize that he was part of that as the ex facto member, but he's on that as one of his responsibilities. Another one is that he has to go to Salem Area Community, but not quite that way, the South Central Missouri Community Action Agency. He's responsible for that. So there are a lot of responsibilities besides just in the office, besides just Dent County, that will help our community grow and being that you already kind of got an idea what that is with the school boards because you got outside activities there, they're not just a very narrow banded kind of job, are they?
No, not at all. I know I've visited with a lot of people in the community, and I've tried to meet everybody that I didn't know and go to every door. And this year with COVID-19 going on and everything else, it just kind of put a damper on that. But a lot of people, and it's not a bad thing, but they think of our commissioners as just handling just the budget, and they're going to take care of roads and bridges. But it goes way beyond that. Just like you're talking, and the community betterment and everything focuses in on that, and there's just so much there that it's just eye-opening.
Yeah. And when you're looking at it, obviously the budget's a big part of this. Right now, Dent County's financial position is, I'll say, comfortable. We have actually extra money in our coffers, where some of our surrounding counties, they're barely making it by year to year. We have had very good success with sales tax, and you found out a little bit more about car tax at the last meeting you were at. When you realize all these different sources, was that an eye-opener to you, that all these different sources of income are out there that you may not really have known about?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, you really think about it, and I guess in the broad scheme of things, everybody thinks, well, just your tax dollars, you know, whether it be your property tax or personal property or even the sales tax. But
right.
it's categorized out, and there's so many different ones of them that, I mean, there's a lot that goes into our county budget.
And now we have an economic development director that the city has, Sally Burbridge, and the county helps pay for that. That was put into the budget here a couple of years back, and the IDA contributes to that. In your opinion, as you're running for this position, economic development, now there's a lot of definitions to economic development.
Absolutely.
We all know it's like, give me a factory and give me jobs, or we have a lot of businesses already that exist that need a little help. There's a lot more to that economic development position. I think you were there when Sally gave her report.
Yep.
Were you, how did you take her report, and how informative did you find it?
I took it quite well. I mean, she seems to me, and I've only met her the one time, but in visiting with other people that knows her and knows her job more than I do, she is really working hard and knows her stuff. That report she gave was very informative. She was talking about the upcoming people she's talked to that are planning to bring a business here, the ones that she's already made contact with that started, and trying to discuss different means with the businesses that have been here for a long time. Just like you said, there's a lot of businesses here, especially this year, that have been hurt and have been affected by what's going on around our country and around the world, for that matter.
And you're familiar that the county receives some money that it's called the CARES Act, that they are distributing for expenses from COVID-19. And you were there when they talked about this.
Yep.
And one of the interesting things is public entities get some of that money, businesses can get some of that money, and that's a great help. But that's still a lot of extra work on those businesses to even apply, isn't it?
Oh yeah, whenever we were listening to that, and I believe it was just this past Monday, the process you have to go through just to get that. It's not just get online and fill out a simple form.
Right.
You know, you're supposed to go. They've got a long list of things and criteria that you have to meet and provide to get that assistance.
So sometimes people don't even realize that. They just think, well, the county has this money, I'll just go apply and get it.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. So these are all things. I mean, when you go and talk to people, do you explain to people that there's more of a process to being a county commissioner than just showing up for your 3 hours on Monday, and maybe when they get back to 3 hours on Thursday and hearing a few complaints about roads and maybe getting this and doing that there's a lot more fine details to this position that the public really needs to know?
Absolutely. Like I said before, we talk about the budget, the overall budget, the county roads and bridges, but that just plays a small part. And those commissioners, and in my opinion, that office needs to be proactive. And it goes back to your budget and being financially strong as a county. You need to be looking not just for this year and staying within budget, but 2, 3, 5, and 10 years down the road and planning for those things. Now, granted, you get out there that far, and it's hard to really plan for that.
Sure.
there's a lot more to that than just what meets the eye.
I want to back up just a little bit because we talked about Sally Burbridge and the link between her and the county and the IDA board. You know, we talk about communication. For years and years, people always told me county and city didn't get together and they couldn't agree on anything, and you know there were always dissension. When you see somebody like Sally that is kind of in that middle position helping both, do you see that is a problem, or do you think the city and county work together, or should they work together even more, in your opinion?
In my opinion, from what I can see right now, I do believe there's a very good working relationship there between the county commission and the city.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's always room for improvement.
Sure.
That goes without saying about anything. But the need for that is definitely there. And if we're not pulling together as county and city together, I mean, you know what happens. I mean, nobody's happy. Nobody wins, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
We have, in the county, we have part of my district that I'm running to represent lives within the city.
Right.
So I've got to represent both the city people and people out in the county. So if we can't get together as both forms of government, then it's a lost cause, in my opinion.
And of course, the courthouse is dead center in the middle of the town.
Absolutely.
You know, so if, for example, if the city had projects going on, you as a commissioner, would you be interested in what those projects are? Even if it didn't really affect the county coffers, would you be interested in finding out more about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's good for the city should be good for the county. And we just need to keep that as a common goal and what's good for everybody. And I think that if we keep that at the forefront of our minds, then we'll be all right.
Well, you know, we have a new jail, obviously, and
Right.
this was it was a long-term deal. I think a lot of people think it just got put up in about a year and a half, and this has gone on for about 4.5 years when they actually got a committee together and then went and saw the other jail, found what the committee put together, some recommendations, came back, and it was just a different sheriff at the time, and then Bob Wells got elected and moved forward with it. Commission moved forward. Then they had to find an architect. You got to find a construction manager. Then you put out and you go through all this. This is a long process.
Absolutely.
And you have seen the final product now come out with the jail. And I think you were there for a while when Nick Smith from Septagon was there. What did you think about his presentation and how the county handled this, along with Septagon?
Well, as a project manager, I could not imagine going through with that kind of a project without them. Mm-hmm. First of all, I think he did a very good job. He answered every question. He knew the numbers. He knew what was going to take place as of what they're doing right now, trying to put some fine-tune finishing on some things.
Sure.
To what they're looking out for over the next year. And overall, they did a really good job. I know the jail is kind of a touchy subject out here in the county, but at the end of the day, we as citizens did vote to do that, and I believe with what they had to work with and what they're working with now, I think has gone really well.
So do you consider the new jail growth? I mean, had you been to the old jail?
I have been down to the old jail, and it was several years ago, and got to peek in type of deal.
Okay.
But I've never actually been back in the cells or
Probably
seen all
you
of
don't
that.
want to.
Now, I did, after that meeting the
Yeah.
other day, I was visiting with Presiding Commissioner Daryl Skiles, and we were just talking about the old jail down in the basement of the courthouse. So he did take me down there and show me that. And from looking at that to seeing the building we have now, I mean, I wish we didn't have a need for that building.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, and I think everybody would agree upon that. But we have made leaps and bounds from where we started. So,
but when we have improvements like that in our area, whether it has to be, and I know a jail building is not what you want to call an improvement, but it is an improvement compared to what we had. Do you see that as growth in our community?
Absolutely.
That we are willing to address things that we need.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think we have to do. You've got to address problems as they come up. You've got to plan for them. I mean, once you see them and make a plan that you can execute in fixing that problem or issue or whatever that may be.
All right, we're down to the last question. Basically, What is it? Why should people vote for Justin Headrick for commissioner?
why should people vote for me?
Yeah,
Well,
why not? Is there something you want to let people know about you that makes you different from somebody, or maybe an interest you have?
well, first and foremost, it's not about a agenda or anything like that. It's just the pure love for this community, and I want to see it flourish and be successful. And whether that's some people moving in or businesses moving in, but bottom line is I want to represent the citizens that make up our community. And with that being said, with my background and the boards that I've served on, from school board to State Farm Bureau committees, and being able to get a group of people together and collectively come up with an idea for the common good and be able to put a plan in place to execute that, that's why I feel like I really would appreciate your vote.
Very good.
From budgets to just overall betterment.
Well, we wish you the very best come August 4th. Justin Headrick, District 1 Commissioner candidate from the Republican side. Thank you very much for spending some time with us, and we wish you the very best.